Hi, Linda.
How are you, Liz? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Martin, Happy New Year. Let me let some folks in.
Hey, Martin.
Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I think I'm going to turn off this waiting room. Okay. Let me do that.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Liz, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Is there an easy way to attach, not to attach, to literally have like an email and the contents, put it on my announcement page for D2L? Like I get an email, right? And it's about one of the scholarships and I want to post it on D2L announcement page. Aside from copying and pasting and going through all that, right? Or adding it in as an attachment, is there just an easy way to zap it on there?
No. There are plenty of ways to copy things over, but copy paste is the fastest.
Okay. All right. Thank
Good
you. I just
question,
know if
though.
there was some magic.
I wish we need more magic in this world. Let's see. Janine, good to see you. Happy New Year. Russell, good to see you too. My old friend Fax Staff is here. Who Fax Staff is. Okay. Andreas, glad you're here. Wendy, Tina, thanks for coming.
Oh, hi, Tina.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, Liz. Thanks for doing this.
Of course, I'm so excited to see people. You're the first people I've seen this new year.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Let's see. All right, we've got some more folks. We'll give folks just a few minutes to trickle in. We had about 35 people sign up. Jeff, good to see you. Happy New Year. Let's see.
Happy New Year
Christina's
to you
here.
too.
Thank you. Linda, who's your cat?
Oh, that's Simon.
Oh.
Simon likes to get into the action sometimes. So. Actually, you know, he likes to bother me when I'm busy. That's more of the, yeah.
Cats have a sense for that.
Your attention has gone elsewhere and he wants
Right.
it back. Yes.
Now he's lying on my papers because he knows I need them. So.
Did anybody do anything? Well, how's the week going? How's prep for class? Do we love this week before class begins?
Well, it's pretty essential.
I'm glad that class didn't start yesterday for one.
Oh my God. Yes.
And I'm not even teaching anything.
My husband is teaching 6th grade in the dining room as we speak here. So his started already.
Oh, wow. Where does he teach?
Francis Parker.
Are they remote or, well, yeah, he's remote.
He started, he started in person in a room, big room with windows open, everybody masked, lots of shields. And then they had a scare. So then they were online and now they say they're going to go back next week, but there's a whole new thing going on. So
yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, that's, yeah, we just don't know. Let's see who else. Will, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Jennifer.
Thanks for hosting it.
Yeah, really.
Oh, Vicky, hey, good to see. I'm losing track of everybody here. We've got so many people. All right, we'll give it just another minute. Did anybody do anything great over break? There's a real low bar this year for some.
I slept a lot. I was really surprised at how much I needed the rest, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was exhausting. It was odd that it was so exhausting, but it is exhausting.
Yeah, it's really draining. I mean, teaching is draining, period, right? It's like being on and then you're on in this tiny little box.
Drawing
Yeah.
all that attention that's not in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I will get started. Thanks to everyone for coming. I see a number of new faces today, so let me introduce myself. I'm Liz Rodriguez, the coordinator of the Center for Teaching and Learning, and I will be facilitating this workshop today. Right now, I'm going to turn on the recording. We've had requests for these sessions to be recorded, so please, if you don't want to be recorded, unshare your camera now. So let's do that. Maybe it was already recording. Well, now we're recording for real. I'll crop anything out before then. So good to see you folks. So today's session, I've renamed D2L Organization Hacks. And what I'm imagining for this session is really to give you a couple of tent poles of ways to make D2L work for you, to use it so that it's a little, well, to use it so that it's more student friendly. But I also want to show you some examples of ways that folks at our university organize their courses so you can get some ideas for other ways you can do things. And also, finally, if we have time, if there's anybody brave who would like to have a course organization makeover, we will dive into one of your courses and start rearranging, relabeling in order to apply the precepts or the concepts that we cover today. So if start thinking about that, if you might be brave and let us dive into one of your old courses and move things around. So before we dive into the content then, are there any questions or concerns, things you want to get out front and make sure that we cover?
I have some questions that I don't know if they cover. They might be covered the rest of the week. One is about last year. It was a seat of my pants, kind of D2L last fall. And I typed in the names of some modules and I thought, oh, that's a terrible name for it. And then I couldn't delete it. So I just never made it visible to the students. And then because I had much mercy this COVID fall, I have about 4 incompletes, but my class is closed and I don't know how to get those quizzes to the students.
Okay, we can
Unless I just do it the old fashioned way, you know.
Yeah, we can talk about relabeling things and also issues of date involving dates. We'll cover dates today as well. Other topics that we want to make sure that we cover.
Liz,
Yes.
it mentioned checklists for your students.
Yep.
That I definitely would like to know how and what about.
All right. We'll make sure we get to the checklist.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so funny because I sent them all a checklist the old fashioned way and it was in the announcements, it was in a thing and they didn't do them anyway. It's like, where do I stand? It's like, didn't you do your checklist anyway? So.
All of this is about leading folks down the garden path, right? And there's no one size fits all. So I think checklists are, well, I'll actually show you 2 different kinds of checklists today. Anything else?
Can you say anything about, maybe this is basic, but the concept of master shells? And if we should be, the classes that we repeat year after year, should we do them always in the master shell and then import them into every semester that we teach the class, or try to just copy and paste from the old semesters? Or what's the best practice with the master shell?
That is a great question, and we'll definitely talk about that. But in short, yes, master shells are good and we should use them from semester to semester. All of these are really great questions about organization and really like the management of your course, not just within the semester, but from semester to semester. And as you improve and refine your course each semester, hopefully that pays off in the future and saves you time. Any other topics? Yeah, Jeff, good to see you.
Liz, nice to see everyone too. Tina stole part of my checklist question as well, things that I wanted to cover, but also I'll just say one word: quizzes. Everything about them I'd like to go through again, please, because it changes. It seems like it changes every time I teach, for sure. So
it does. Well, we're not covering quizzes today, but you're in luck because there's a session later this week about quizzes, which will be recorded as well if you can't attend.
no problem. I was going to say I didn't know whether that was covered later too, and I know this is a basic session, so sorry.
No worries. So anything else? I'm going to give you folks a chance to ruminate more on D2L and organization in a second, but any other pressing questions?
Liz, real quick, could we, I don't know if this importing or exporting, just like there's some things in this course that I'm going to be teaching that I'd like to import from last semester, last semester's course into this course.
We can definitely talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I have a question about moving, links during the regular time. I would just ordinarily be showing the content during class and I wouldn't even be having links, but my links grew like this huge long list. And now I'm thinking, oh, I should have each link that's in each module. So how do I move them? Is there a way to easily move them?
Yes, absolutely. We'll cover that. And so I want to reference what I put in the chat for you. These are this is a PDF of the best practices that we're going to cover today. And we're going to practice moving things around as well. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. But oh, yes. So on that PDF, everything that's underlined is linked. So there's to a short video so that you can focus on, what we're learning today, and then later on do a refresher with those little videos. So there is one that I just found about how to move things around. So I want to start talking about what D2L has to offer us. If you could, in the chat right now, put a couple words about what do you think of when you think of organizing your course in D2L? Like, what is the feel of your course? If you could describe the organization of your course in a couple of words. Okay, so Jeff's talking about units and sections, supplemental, short weekly modules, Christina with accessible as possible, rudimentary. Will, what do you mean by supplemental?
Meaning that I use it as a supplement to what we do in a class discussion, or what we do in class. And I've had to lean more on D2L since we've gone remote, and found I hit the limit of my skill set very quickly. Yeah. And as some of our colleagues have shared, they've kind of had to learn on the go, and here I am.
Yeah, and I think a lot of folks were in that position where, and myself included years ago before I got into instructional design, where the class happens in front of everybody, and then D2L turned into, just a place where I store files. So why don't we start talking about some of these issues of organization and moving from D2L as like a Dropbox just to go and find things, and look at the tools that can help move students through your content more clearly. I'm surprised, looking through the chat too, that I didn't see anybody talking about like the messiness of a course. I think somebody already mentioned like just links, right? You, Deanna, like links, right? And those links the list of links gets really long. So let's start by taking a look at a big long list of links. And I'm going to share my screen.
If you want to pull up my class as the bad example, you can.
Oh, actually, oops. Let's see. Sorry, I'm having screen sharing issues. And we're going to allow that. Okay, there we go. One more time. Here we go. Can someone let me know if you can see D2L right now?
Yes.
Thank you.
You can see it.
So what I've done is taken a bunch of files from one of my courses and just dumped them in this master shell here that I have. And we have all sorts of stuff going on in this one module. Right now, I want to take a step back and not assume that anybody here, or not assume anything about what you know how to do in D2L. So Let's start by looking at how to create a module. Like, how did I get all of this stuff in here to begin with? And then we'll start moving things around during modules. And I do want to recommend, and that is my first recommendation on the PDF that I shared in the chat, which is that sequencing your course, organizing things temporally and putting them into a module for, say, each week or each unit really helps students know where to go. And that consistency and clarity of experience is just one of those ways of creating a friendlier student environment for your students, especially right now while we're remote and, we don't have the same, we're not in person and we can't really communicate as well with students. It's super important to pay attention to how you're presenting things to students and doing so in a way that is as open and inviting as you would be in the classroom. So I'm going to start by creating a module. And all I did was click over here on this left-hand side of the screen, and you can give it, I like to use the word unit, in fact, but module is the word that D2L use. I'll use those interchangeably. And it's just typing and hitting enter. Now you see what happened is all of those links that I had just disappeared. Why is that? That's because I'm inside Unit 1 right now. So if you think about D2L as like having these two sides of the screen here, almost like a book, this gray part over here is like it is the table of contents. And these are like the different chapters of a book. And then this right side of the screen is all of the stuff that goes into that chapter. So I'm just going to make a few more units so we can start dragging things around. So in order to jump back to my original DOMPO files, we'll just click Files over here. And now, what I want you to take a look at, they're very small, but these little dots right here, anytime you see these dots in D2L, it means you can click and drag and move things around. So I can take this online communication plan and dump it over in Unit 1. And I can take all of my Unit 2 things and drag them over to Unit 2. And let's say that I made a mistake. I can always go back and
There's
drag.
one question.
Yes.
Can you do it like it just goes into, say, Unit 1 or into Unit 2, but what about if you have a submodule that says links in Unit 1? Or do you not do that?
Like this?
Yes. Like say you have something now in a different, unit and you want to drag it into the links from there.
Yeah, we can do it within the unit and see there's that little prompt for you to drag and drop here. But we can also go back to our original files over here. Now I think we're going to have to do like some double click and dragging. So we'll take Unit 2, drag it over there, and then we still might have to then put it over here.
Oh, I'm so glad. I like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So another way, well, and now I want to jump back and show you how some faculty at our university are organizing their modules in different ways. Now we've somebody mentioned already, I'm sorry, I don't recognize your voices and I can't see you, but the use of submodules is a little controversial, just simply because it adds another layer of navigation to your course. And by that, I mean, in order to get to these links, like let's say we're at the top of the table of contents, right? Now we have a list of everything that's in the course and it's starting to get organized. Things are in Unit 1, Unit 2. I can see what's in Unit 1 very easily, just the online communication plan. But in Unit 2, when I introduce that submodule, now I just know that there's a submodule in there, but I can't see what's actually in there. So
So
There's
you
a
would
real-
suggest maybe having like unit 1 and unit 1 links, unit 2 links, that kind of thing?
It depends. So let's take a look at how other folks have done that. Some people who do use submodules, and I use them too. You want to be careful about it though, because once you start introducing too many submodules, then it's a lot of clicks. And that's something I hear a lot about D2L, especially from our students, is it takes so many clicks to go somewhere and to do something. So right now we're looking at Dr. Sarah West's Spanish class. And I am going to go into student view so we can experience this course as her students do. Content is where everything is and should live if you're organizing things sequentially. And so let's take a look at these two sides of her course. If we go to the top level of navigation, we can see there's a Start Here module. She has a module with all of the Zoom links for the semester, a couple of technology related things, but then she simply goes week by week. And she does have submodules in this course. And that's in order to chunk the different things that have to be done in that first week. And it's very consistent. Additionally, oh, see, this one doesn't have a submodule. But additionally, notice how number 3 on our D2L organizations hack, labeling content items clearly and consistently is done really well in this course. So she signals to her students with these instructions here, ver, this is something that you have to watch. This hacer, this is something that you have to do. And anytime there's something for students to watch or to do or to read, she labels it that way. And by making that the case across the whole course, students can very quickly see this is all the stuff that's instructional, and then this is the stuff that I have to do. And it's nicely chunked so that students can go in a couple times during the week and just do, say, one little section instead of looking at all of this stuff at once and getting overwhelmed. Comments, things you're noticing, questions.
So that would be difficult though, if you want students to like read something and then do something specifically on that reading, you know, and then read something else and then do something, you know, or watch something and then do something. So, or am I misunderstanding like how that might be organized with clear headings like that?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but I think if I show you another example of how things are broken down, because I think what you're gesturing at is what if we just put all of the instructional materials in one place, all the stuff you have to read and watch, and then all the stuff you have to do and group it in a different way. And that's precisely what Christina Heidow in computer science has done. Notice how she also has week by week or module by module organization. And she organizes with in terms of resources and assignments. And that's how each of her modules goes. This is stuff you have to read, instructional materials, this stuff you have to do, a discussion topic, group work.
So those are submodules within each of those unit.
Correct.
Liz, this is Janine.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, you just mentioned assignments being in one place and so on. This may be a side note you can get back to, but I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to see if anybody has assignments where they, like when it comes to grading the assignments, downloading and reading it and uploading. I mean, to me, so this past semester, what I did, I basically asked my students to, we created folders for each of them, and they uploaded all the assignments in their name, like their folder, like TESOL 427 dash Hillary, and that was the name, and then all the assignments were there. So it was easy for me to give them feedback. Is anybody having any other ways that's easier to grade assignments and upload? And it's like so I would like to hear any experiences.
My method was horrible, and I love your method. My method was a disaster. I just had to wade through everything all the time. I would love to learn your method to make a file for each student.
Janine, do you mean you're creating an assignment folder in D2L, or is it in like Drive or Dropbox?
So it's in the Drive, Google Drive. So basically, students, when it comes to all, so assignments are like the assignments, each one is listed on D2L, but also in Google Drive. So, but in Google Drive, the way students turn in their assignments individually, we create, each one has a folder with their name on it in the Google Drive. And so all the assignments, almost like a portfolio, all the assignments throughout the semester are in one location. So I can go in, give them feedback, and if they have to revise it, there are 2 versions of the assignment. So those kind of things. So in one folder, but I couldn't find ways to do it on D2L so that we stay in one place.
Yeah, yeah. So is the issue that you find that like actually grading in D2L to be a cumbersome experience?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like you have to download, grade, upload. I mean, I couldn't have ways to just quickly open, give feedback and put it back in. I just couldn't. And so I was hoping I can learn how people are doing it within D2L. That's easy and accessible, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking, oh yeah, is somebody.
I was going to chime in because I hear you, Janine. This is Theodora, Thea.
Yeah.
But last semester, I noticed that D2L had the feature where you didn't have to download the assignments. In other words, when the students submitted the paper for me to grade the paper, I didn't have to download it. There were tools in the assignments that I could use, right, Liz?
Yes, I'm just going to pull something up quickly to show you.
Yeah.
I want to move on to more organizational things, but I do hear you, Janine, about the difficulty of downloading and uploading assignments with feedback. And I'm going to send after this webinar, I think I have a video that shows how to bulk download and then bulk upload. Because I'm imagining you're responding to students' writing, right? So you're marking up Word documents, and then having to save those Word documents and then upload them back to D2L one by one is cumbersome. So there's a way you can grade them all at once and then pop them back to each individual student. But just to give you an idea of what Taya is talking about, this is, so there is a way for us to read things right there on the screen, and you can use these markup tools. I'll be honest though, these markup tools are kind of glitchy, and also they're not accessible. So any student using a screen reader won't be able to get those comments. But this makes me think that maybe we should have a future workshop on efficiency, using the tools efficiently to grade more quickly in D2L. All right, so to get back to our agenda, I wanted to make sure that I showed you number 2, creating links across the course, across your courses. So one thing, again, to get back to this issue of like, I just don't know, our students saying, I don't know where to go, I can't find anything. One of the tricks of D2L is that you can link things multiple times and have them in multiple places, all pointing back to the same place. And by that, I mean, we can have in Unit 1, let's say that I want to introduce an assignment in Unit 1, but they don't actually turn it in until Unit 3. I can link that assignment in Unit 1 and Unit 3, and it'll point to the same assignment. And the way that I do that is with this button right here, Add Existing Activities. So let's compare it with this blue Upload Create button. Anytime you want to do something new for the first time in your course, use that blue button. But if you've already made something and want to move it around, if you don't want to click and drag, or if it's not there yet, you have to add an existing activity. And so when we click that menu, we get a list of all the different things that we might have created in this course. So let's say I want to link that assignment right here. This is a list of the assignments I have in the course. I just choose it and I did it again, but it pops it into Unit 1. But then I can also do it right over here again, add existing activity, assignments, and now it's in Unit 3 as well. Because all that these links are doing over here, all of these links, unless they're linking to something outside of D2L, they're linking to something up here, right? A discussion, an assignment, a quiz, the grade, well, you can't link the grade book, but you see what I mean. So all you're doing on this content page is just organizing your links to these different parts of the course in addition to your materials, but you always have them accessible on these tabs over here, right? The online communication plan really lives right here, but I've linked it in Unit 1 and Unit 3. So especially in the beginning of a course, students aren't going to necessarily have an intuitive sense of how you organize things. So another technique that you can use is to create announcements that then link to, say, the online communication plan that they have to do, or an introductory discussion board that they have to take part in. And so the way to do that is, let's create a new announcement. So let's say I want to remind folks, don't forget to turn in, what aren't we going to forget to turn in? Our online communications plan. And the way that we link to that is by clicking this link button right here. And then you'll see we have another list again of all of the different pieces of the course. And I can find it in assignments and click it there, and it automatically links to that assignment. So anytime you see this button in the course, this little insert quick link, you can do this in discussions. You can do this in little module overview text. Anytime you see this button, you can click it and link to another piece of the course. Yeah, Will.
So when you do that, so I have students do like bi-weekly kind of like writing assignments pretty frequently, like short writing assignments. Would I need to create a separate assignment for each one of those, or could I use the same assignment and just make it due in different units? Does that make sense? Does the question make sense?
So it's one folder that they're turning multiple things into over the course of time? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be turning in multiple short essays over the course of the course.
Yeah. All you would do is just don't put a due date, or you can put a due date but not an end date. So long as you don't have an end date and it's open, students can keep turning things in there. Yeah. Other questions? So while we're talking about linking, and because it's so important, I want to jump forward actually to number 5 and talk about these checklists. So I'm going to show you what a finished checklist looks like, so that you will see that all of the steps involved in creating a checklist is actually worth it. So I think Kara Nuss in biology has some really nice checklists. Let me go back into student view so that we can see things the student way. All right, so Kara has weekly checklists, and notice Kara doesn't use any submodules. She has a very flat course, which some folks prefer and does make for an easier experience, I think, especially on mobile devices, because everything for the week is all right there. It may involve a lot of scrolling, but Kara also doesn't have, too many things in one module. So it's not too overwhelming. So if we look at this week 2 checklist, check this out. She has it organized into the things that you have to read and then the things that you have to turn in. And there are due dates, check that out. And the satisfying box to click when things are done. And I want to note too, these due dates over here, anytime you're putting due dates on things in the course, they are going to also appear on the course homepage. I mean, there's nothing upcoming, but they would appear right here. So when your students or sometimes faculty ask, where are these dates coming from? You can add them manually, but they also could be coming from dates on a checklist or dates on an assignment. Yeah, Deanna.
Can you just show again how you make the checklist?
Oh, I haven't shown that yet. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll do that next.
No wonder I'm like, I missed it.
I'm going to show how nice they look. And this is another way, note as well, instead of using the submodules of like read and do, Kara's broken it down just on the checklist. So now we're going to go make a checklist because I will be honest, they're a little bit tricky, but they're totally worth it. And students respond really well to them. So what I'm going to do is go over to my master shell here. And the place where you find the checklists is over under course administration. And course admin looks really overwhelming, but if there's ever a tool that you can't find in D2L, it's on this page. Every tool that's available to you is on this page. So we have under assessment checklists, and I have a bunch already. So let's create a new checklist. You'll want to give your checklist a name. I would give it the same name as either the module, or if you want to make a checklist for a particular really big assignment, give it the name of the assignment. And you don't really need a description. Checklists tend to be pretty self-explanatory. And I'm going to save that. And there you go. It takes you to yet another interface. But now what we have to do is create the organization of that checklist, like Kara did with the things that they have to watch and then the things that they have to turn in. So the way that that is done is through creating categories. So I generally will have a category that's something like read, watch, listen, because if I'm using multimedia in my course, you know, sometimes they'll be reading things, sometimes they'll be watching things. And so this way I label on every single checklist, read, watch, listen, so that it remains consistent across the course. So first I'm making our categories, and then I have a to-do category. And now we want to add items to the checklist. So this maybe is chapter 1. That's the actual item that will appear, the name on the checklist. And then I want to give it a due date. And we'll say February 1st. And if you want to put that in the calendar, you just click that option there and we save it. So this is what you have to do for each thing on the checklist. Now watch this. We also want to add assignments or quizzes sometimes to these checklists. And the way that we can do that is we'll give it a name. And then remember what I said about the little quick link right there. We can actually link the quiz that students have to take on the checklist itself. And I'm just navigating through and I'm going to find a quiz. We'll definitely put a due date on that one. We'll display it in the calendar and save. And if we go back to Kara's checklist, notice how she has lots of description on the checklist. There are some folks who even basically just use the checklists to as the entire navigation for the course. So she has not just the things that they have to read there, which I'm sure are linked in the module as well, but she gives instructions for the week. She links to resources that they may need. She gives more instruction. This is the kind of like narrative and apparatus of the course that can fall away really quickly online if we aren't intentional about including it. And by that, I mean, you know, when we're in class and we're talking to students and we're introducing an assignment, for instance, we don't just give them the handout and walk away, right? Usually we talk about the handout, we give them advice, we give pointers, they ask questions. So writing little bits of instruction like that and including them on the checklist is a good way of giving that support to students in the virtual space. But we haven't finished our checklist yet. Oh, see, and I added the quiz to the wrong category. We wanted that under to do, but that's easily fixed by clicking it. And oh, see, not so easy. Let's create another one. Oops. Let's create another item and then I'll move everything over into to do. So let's create maybe a discussion. And I'm going to link right over here to the discussion that I want folks to do. Graded discussions. Let me save. And now we're going to edit, I think. Sorry, it's been a little while since I've created a brand new checklist. Let's edit all of these. So this is part of the clunkiness of the checklists. Is all these different interfaces, but see, my quiz and my discussion were in the wrong part of the checklist. And now I'm just going to change it to the to-do part of the checklist. And we're going to save and close it. So there's my Unit 5 checklist that we just created. Now, the last step that you can't forget to do though with these checklists is add them to a content module. Otherwise, students won't have any way of accessing the checklist because they do not have the course admin button. So we go over to content and let's say that I have a Unit 5 now. And I already created the checklist. It's already existing. So now I'm going to find it over here. Number 5. And just so you can see what that looks like now as a student. There we go.
Well, Liz, for what it's worth, I've always found it much easier to create the checklists actually in the unit where they're going to be used.
Yes, that's same here. That's how I do it.
Let's take a look at how that works. So you would, let's go over here.
Create a checklist.
Create a checklist. Let's see. We're not going to hide that. Let's save. Ah, that is a little bit friendlier. So you could have like read, watch, and then do. Oh my gosh, you folks taught me. Thank you, Jeff. How the tables have turned. This is great. Yeah, so
Run that by one more time, how you did that.
it's really great. It used to be, the reason why I went through the back end to get to the checklist is it was never this nice. You see how it's a different way of creating checklists, right? It's not the same experience, and it used to be a lot worse. So the way that we created a new checklist right from within the unit itself was we did the blue upload create button, and then we chose create a new checklist. We gave it a name. We uncheck that because it'll unpublish it automatically, and I just want to get it going. And then we just click there, and then we'll have our category 1. And then we could put the individual items there. And then we can put a due date there. This is brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff.
Yeah, and then the added description, that's where you create your link to the item.
Then we go over here. There's our little
Right.
button. Yeah. And we can add a discussion. Also, too, any of your files that you may have uploaded into the course that you may have over here, say, in files. Okay. So one thing I will note about these checklists, though, when you link assignments in your courses and then say your course is all beautiful and you want to copy it over to the next semester, those checklists that you copy into the new semester will actually, those links will point back to your old course, right? So you have to update all those links every semester, which can be a real pain. So the way that I've dealt with that, and I'm interested if other folks have suggestions, what I will do is I will link very rigorously in maybe the first unit or two, so that's while students are still getting used to the course. But then after that, you know, if there's a discussion, unit 5 discussion, I'll just say unit 5 discussion and not include that link, because I figure by that time in the course, students are more acclimated to finding things. Does anyone else have suggestions?
Well, where does it go when you do that? Then does it go back to the previous course?
It does, which is fine for you, but for your students in that new course, they won't have access to the old course.
Right.
Yeah. So while we're talking about master shells, I wanted to get back to that question from the top about what are master shells and why do we use them? Or why should we use them? Master shells are like sandbox courses. They're a little storage unit for all of the courses that you teach. You're entitled to a master course for anything that you teach. And also, if you want different master shells for each mode, say your online versus your face-to-face, we can give you another shell for each different mode. And there's a form for that I can include later on. So that master shell is a place where there are no students enrolled. It's just for you, and you can build your course materials in kind of a safe space, and then later on copy that over to your semester shell. But you might think, well, why am I going to, you know, take my semester, my stuff from last semester, copy it to the master shell, only to copy it back into next semester? The reason behind that is eventually your semester shells are going to be deleted. Theoretically, we are supposed to be deleting those in the CTL on a regular basis. Full disclosure, we haven't been doing that.
Good.
But the intention is to get rid of old courses, right? Because it slows everything down, and it's not good LMS hygiene. So that is something that I would like us to do eventually. So that means that your master shells are going to be, those you'll keep forever. We'll never delete any of those. So that's one use case for master shells.
Even from one semester to the next, like if I'm copying over or importing or exporting to the new, just from one, like if I go and do that for fall, ultimately the goal would be that it wouldn't be there, it would be in the master shell.
Well, the goal is for us to not have any courses that are older than like 3 years in the LMS. Yeah. So right now, practically speaking, you can take your fall stuff, copy it over to spring, and it doesn't make a difference. But if, for instance, maybe you have, like right now, classes start next week, but you have some stuff that you want students to start looking at and working on, but some things that you're not ready to debut yet, and you don't want to go and hide all that stuff from students, the master shell is the place where you can build that and then just copy it over to your new course. And that is, the way to do that is, your menu will look a little bit different, but it's this import, export, copy components option, which I'll send a link out after this about how to do that. It's just a couple clicks.
So
Yeah,
they
Anna.
they have access to the master shell before they have access to the course that you release?
No one has access to master shells but you. Only you have access to master shells. But if your course is active right now, your teaching shell, your semester shell, if that's active, your students do have access to it.
That's confusing to me. So the master shell, I guess I haven't done the master shell. I've just built it over from one semester to the next.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Can anybody else maybe address the master shell question, or does anybody actually use them in a way that has been helpful?
I'm planning to, but
Yeah.
It's just like a container that holds the documents, that that they are there.
Imagine that a master shell could also be helpful after the students in your current course have done something and you have an idea of what would have worked better, then you can go back to the master and make that change so that you remember it the next time that you teach the course.
That's brilliant, Vicky. That's a really good idea, because I always struggle with, like, when do I do updates? And I always forget what I wanted to update. That's a great idea.
Liz, if I can add,
Yeah, please.
I remember at one time, I believe it was Edmund Hansen, if I'm not mistaken, said that master shells are actually updated with your latest course. Is that automatically? Is that true, or is that not the case?
That is not the case. I think maybe, and I mean, it's been many years, so I don't know what the processes were before I got here, but it used to be that you would automatically be given a blank master shell for each one of your courses. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to request it. But again, I'll send out that form about requesting a master shell. Okay, other questions? Because I wanted to show one more checklist type.
Oh.
Yeah, Linda.
You know what, can you just go over real quick, like how to copy either a piece or a part from one course to another, or if it's in your master shell, whatever. My mind is just from the course from last semester. With the import export, is that what I would do to copy?
Yeah. Are you ready to copy right now? We can copy your course right now.
Actually, I don't, because
Okay.
honestly, I don't. There's things that I just have to, I know there are things that I'm going to want. I'm just not sure what it is right now.
Sure.
So
I'll show the copying.
thanks.
So yeah, of course. Let me go over here. Hang on. Let me get out of my my admin account. Just go to my regular Liz account. So notice too, all of your master shells are on this tab, and these are sorted by semester. So let's just go into this one. So pretend that this is a totally blank shell, right? It's your spring shell. You're ready to copy things over the night before class. You click on the gear icon and select Import, Export, Copy Components. And just leave the defaults for the most part, well, at least on this screen. What we have to do now is go find the course that we want to pull content from. So you always start in an empty course and then pull things over. So we have to search for the course that we want to pull from. And you can search by keyword, you can search by semester, but you'll have to search for your course that you want to pull from, select it, and let's do that one. Add selected. And now if you just want to move everything over, absolutely everything, you choose the blue copy all components. But what I like to do is not copy everything over. So I choose select components. And I'm going to click off everything and then figure out, actually, I don't want my announcements to come over, because those are about last semester. So I'll uncheck that one. And let's say that I want most of my discussions, but not all of them. So I'm going to select individual items to copy. Make sure that you're including associated files so that the stuff that was attached before will remain attached. And we continue. And now we can get even more granular. We're gonna pick the individual discussions that we want. So I want these and I want these. And we continue. And all this is a confirmation. And if you change your mind, you can go back and modify things. But otherwise, we click finish. And then it copies, 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 and it'll let you know when it's done.
Okay, you know what, Liz? I know when I had asked this prior, someone said that if there were assignments that students handed in, they would get copied over as well.
No.
If we didn't uncheck them, no, that wouldn't be
no.
the case.
That's one thing you can always be sure of is anything that students were turning in or writing on discussion boards, grades, none of that stuff moves over. None of that stuff.
Okay, and then if you were going to select things from more than just the discussion, let's say we're just going to select some things from content and, you know, particular, it would go through everything that you said you did not want to select all from. It would go through first, you're just like you said with discussions, you selected some, now there's something else that I just want to select. It would go through that automatically. When I've, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure what it, I'm sorry, what's the question?
Okay, so there was one thing that you said you were going to select things you didn't want all in discussions, right? You were
Right.
going to select certain discussions. So if I had to select certain things in content,
Yes.
it would have gone through that as well, right? If I said I wanted just to select certain things from content.
Yeah, certain links or certain readings that you have that you like files you uploaded. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm going to show you the really easy hidden checklist that's in all of your courses. Have you ever noticed if you're viewing as a student? Well, I think I have it all turned off. There are these little check boxes sometimes. And students by default will get a little completion check mark when they visited content items or when they've simply clicked on something. I'm trying to find a good example. Oops, sorry. Well, apologies, folks. I'm running out of time here. So I just want to call your attention to the settings button over here. This is I'm on the content tab, and you can find this settings button no matter what module you're in. And by default, every single thing in your course will have a little completion status next to it. So a little checkbox. By default, it's set to automatic. So every time somebody visits something, they'll get a little checkbox. I just want to show you what that looks like. So what you can do is actually change the setting so that students can actually check things off on the content page itself. So I'm a student, I click on this checklist, and look, it says when I go back to content, well, it should say that all of the topics are complete. Let's see.
But it does have that little dot there.
Yeah, I don't know what that dot means. I think it's because I changed the settings on this course so many times. But all of this is to say that what your content page can do is turn into a checklist. And so the way that you would enable that is to go to settings and then go down to completion tracking and select required manual. So what that means is instead of it being checked off when students visit, they actually have to physically click it off, and it'll show that progress bar at the top of the screen, depending upon how many things they've checked off.
Where's that? I don't see that progress bar.
Yeah, right here. So you'll only see it when you're in student view. And here's the progress bar. And because I've enabled that setting, now I can check things off here.
Nice.
And the bar completes there. So I would recommend using either checklists or this special setting on the content page, not both. I've done both before, and folks seem to get irritated at all of the checking that's involved. So this is, if you just want to get started with using some sort of self-regulation mechanism, which the research shows really helps in online courses, this is this you know, the 101 version of those kinds of checklists, is that setting, enabling the completion tracking. But if you want to have more robust checklists, well, that's what we covered today. And also there's a link to an explainer video on the handout that I've put in the chat, and I'll follow up with sending again. So we're just about out of time here. I need to look at my notes. Did I talk about everything I promised I would? Let's see, we have some folks in the chat.
To say, I don't remember writing that thing it says I wrote, but that's okay.
You know, that I have stuff saying that I wrote as well, and I haven't written anything.
Even though that is a good question and I would love to know, but.
What is the question?
It said I need to, oops. Where do they submit their assignments and sorry, I can't go back to it.
That's okay. I'll save the chat. I know folks are saying, yeah, the chat is going really crazy right now. Lots of stuff that people are not sending, is myself included, is being sent. Okay, well, we'll figure out what's going on with Zoom right after this. But I want to thank you all for your time and attention today. I hope this was helpful. D2L is kind of a bear to wrangle. So these are just some strategies and techniques that you might want to try out. But I'm really interested if anybody has a better way of wrangling D2L. I'm constantly evolving my own course organization. So, you know, please check in and share if you have something good.
I just kept thanking my students for being so patient with my learning curve this fall. They were.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real empathy building experience, right? Like we are all learning this together.
Yeah, good laughs. So.
Well, it was so good to see you folks. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Liz.
Oh, I just want to put one more thing in the chat before you go. There are still more sessions this week. And if you have not taken my class, Online Teaching, anytime recently, you should definitely do that. So I'm just going to pop those links in the chat right now. And
Hey, Shetty.
Are you saving the chat and sending it to us, or?
I guess I can just put it in an email. That's true. I don't need to put it in the chat. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Also, I found myself getting emails from Zoom of the chat.
That's
really?
probably in your settings. I'm not offended if anybody has to go right now. But yeah, if you log into Zoom on your desktop, like actually go to zoom.com and log in, it's probably in your master settings that it's set to automatically send to you.
Good.
You have a lot more settings by logging into the desktop site, in fact, and a lot more security. You can put passwords in. You can always have people's video turned off, you know, all sorts of defaults you can play with. All right, folks, thanks for your time. I'll be sending this out, and yeah, good luck with the new semester.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Bye, folks.